to the wintry side of Winter Storm Fortis, and what a wintry side it'll be. Burlington, Vermont, one of the places under a winter weather advisory. We've got the winter storm warnings. Tom Nizzle with us now to talk about some of these areas and why the differences, or the devil's in the details, with really where this rain snow line sets up.
Yeah, on a very large scale.
Syracusians, 5 to 10 inches of snow possible tomorrow, and then everybody goes along their daily business, right, Tom? They just kind of go, all right, cool. Well, who's going to Wegmans?
That's it. You go to sleep at night and you say, okay, I'll set my alarm earlier so I can snow blow the driveway. It's going to take a few minutes more to get into work, but boy, I better get home early so I can get those skis on and go out.
Yeah, and I got to tuck the pant legs into my boots so that you don't get that salty, icky mess. You do so much laundry in the winter in those areas.
One thing I don't like about it.
Yeah, it's a problem. But you mentioned, for the people who love winter recreation, this is great news. And, coming on a holiday weekend when a lot of people will be able to get out there and enjoy the aftermath.
It's perfect.
Forbes, now we switch to the winter side of Fortis, and quite a winter side it could be for some areas. We could see in excess of a foot of snow for interior parts of New England.
Yeah, it could even be worse, though, if we had to
understand why that high is so important.
Yeah, I want to go to the blackboard and just take a look at this. We're going to draw this out for you here. So this is the setup where we can get major snows out of these northeast snowstorms. It's a setup where the low is down here to the south, and there's a big high pressure system up here, typically associated with very cold, oftentimes Arctic air that sits here. This high will very oftentimes not want to be budged out of this area. So as this low pressure system starts to move up the northeast coast here, these are lines, by the way, of constant pressure here, okay? It's the pressure difference between the low and the high. As this low works its way northward here, two things are going to happen. First of all, the low is going to deepen, so it's going to get stronger, making a greater pressure difference between that and the high, but it also gets slowed down because this high refuses to go anywhere. So as we had a lot of spacing between these lines there, when we get into this situation here, the lines are much closer together here because there's a greater pressure difference. So the first thing you get, stronger winds coming off of the ocean here, and I'll try to use a different color there, stronger winds coming off of the ocean here into New England. The other thing that the high does is it ensures a continuing shot of cold air coming down out of Canada, and that cold air keeps this entire region, in fact farther south down into New York at times, into DC, with cold air. Without this high pressure system, we don't have as much cold air as we typically would have with these big northeast storms. One of the reasons why the coastal area is going to be all rain. The other, this low is moving very close to the coast. We've talked about that before. But the other thing that this high pressure system does is it slows the forward progress of the low. And what happens if we slow the progress of the low?
More precipitation, longer. So you're going to see that snow really pile up.
Yep. And when we talked about this, by the time it gets cold enough to turn everything over to snow in Boston, this baby's made a beeline for the Canadian Maritimes because there's no high here. So this is another factor that we oftentimes look at when we're dealing with these major northeastern snowstorms.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not think that high responsible for bringing in that cold push of air. When you got that northerly flow out ahead of it, though, you've got the cold air in place, and here the low's just able to bring in all that, warmer Atlantic air, and you just can't take advantage of it until you get further inland.
And the snowstorm really is banking on the way that the upper level energy gets to the northeast coast here and takes on what we refer to as a negative tilt in the atmosphere, which bombs this storm and makes it deepen so rapidly.
All right, well, let's get back to the forecast and let people know what they will expect now that we've explained the whys of why Boston's at nothing, Hartford's at nothing, Providence is at nothing, and even places like Portland, Maine, they're all